Have you ever wondered why first impressions are so powerful and enduring? It's a question that psychologists have been probing for quite some time. When we meet someone for the first time, we quickly form an impression, a mental image that can greatly influence how we view and treat that individual. This happens in a fraction of a second, and it's not just about physical appearance. Age, race, culture, and even accents play a part in these initial judgments. But here's the catch. These quick judgments are often influenced by cognitive biases, which can lead us to make assumptions and jump to conclusions. The halo effect, for instance, is a bias where our overall impression of a person is shaped by one positive trait. On the other hand, the confirmation bias can lead us to seek information that confirms our initial beliefs, even when faced with contradictory evidence. These biases can affect various aspects of our lives, from personal relationships to professional decisions. In the business world, for example, a strong first impression can open doors, while a poor one can close them. It's a potent force that can shape our interactions, decisions, and even our perceptions of reality. Indeed, first impressions can be a powerful force, but how accurate are they? Enter the halo effect, a cognitive bias that can cloud our judgment. This bias, named for the angelic halo often portrayed in art, plays a significant role in how we form first impressions. It's a psychological phenomenon where our perception of a person, based on a single positive trait, influences our opinion of them in other areas. For instance, if someone is attractive, we might also perceive them as intelligent, kind, or successful, even without any evidence to support these assumptions. The halo effect doesn't just apply to physical attractiveness. It could be a charismatic personality, a prestigious job title, or even a charming accent that sets off this cognitive bias. Once it's triggered, the halo effect can lead us to overlook flaws and amplify virtues, skewing our perception and leading to potentially biased decisions. And these aren't just trivial judgments about who's charming or attractive. The halo effect can have serious real-world implications, particularly in the realm of hiring decisions. Imagine a job interview scenario. An interviewer, under the sway of the halo effect, might be so impressed by a candidate's confident demeanor or Ivy League credentials that they overlook potential shortcomings, such as lack of experience or mismatched skills. This could lead to costly hiring mistakes. The halo effect can also distort perceptions in other professional settings. For instance, a well-dressed salesperson might be perceived as more competent, leading customers to overlook potential flaws in a product or service. Similarly, in the education sector, a student's neat handwriting can create a halo effect, leading teachers to assume the student is diligent or intelligent, potentially biasing their grading. So, the halo effect can significantly color our first impressions, often in a positive light. But it's worth remembering that this cognitive bias can lead us astray, influencing our decisions and perceptions in ways that may not reflect reality. Being aware of the halo effect is the first step towards mitigating its impact. Another key player is confirmation bias, a tendency we all have to stick with our initial judgments. Now, what exactly is confirmation bias? It's our brain's sneaky little trick, a cognitive shortcut that causes us to seek out and favor information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs, while simultaneously ignoring or downplaying information that contradicts them. Imagine meeting someone for the first time and forming an impression that they're rather unkind. As time goes on, you may find yourself noticing every little instance that supports this belief, while overlooking moments of kindness. This is confirmation bias in action, perpetuating your initial impression. But it doesn't stop there. Confirmation bias doesn't just color our personal judgments. It has a broad reach, affecting our decision-making processes across a myriad of domains. It can impact how we interpret news stories, how we vote, the way we make financial decisions, and even how we diagnose and treat illnesses. In the business world, for instance, a hiring manager might form a positive first impression of a job candidate. Confirmation bias might then lead the manager to focus on the candidate's strengths while overlooking potential weaknesses. This could result in a costly mishire. Or consider the medical field. A doctor might form an initial diagnosis based on a patient's symptoms. Confirmation bias could then lead the doctor to focus on test results that confirm the initial diagnosis, potentially missing other crucial information that could lead to a different conclusion. Clearly, confirmation bias can reinforce our first impressions, making them hard to change. Now, imagine if your high expectations could actually improve someone's performance. That's the Pygmalion effect. The Pygmalion effect is a psychological phenomenon where high expectations lead to an improvement in performance. It's as if our beliefs and expectations are casting a spell, causing others to rise to the occasion and meet those expectations. It's a fascinating concept, isn't it? Think about it this way. When we expect someone to do well, we naturally treat them in a way that fosters growth and success. We provide them with more support, we encourage them more, and we create an environment where they feel capable and valued. In turn, this person, feeling empowered and motivated, often performs better. This effect isn't limited to any specific context. It's prevalent in schools, workplaces, and even in our personal relationships. For instance, a teacher who expects a student to excel may unknowingly provide more attention and resources to that student. As a result, the student, feeling supported and motivated, may indeed excel. Similarly, in a workplace, a manager's high expectations of an employee can lead to increased confidence and performance from the employee. The manager's belief in the employee's abilities can create a positive feedback loop, where the employee strives to meet these expectations and, in turn, further reinforces the manager's belief in their abilities. Our personal relationships aren't immune to the Pygmalion effect either. Our expectations of our friends, partners, and family members can subtly influence their behavior and performance. However, it's important to remember that this effect is a double-edged sword. While high expectations can boost performance, unrealistically high expectations can lead to pressure and anxiety, potentially having a negative impact. In summary, the Pygmalion effect illuminates the power of our beliefs and expectations. It shows us that our first impressions and subsequent expectations don't just passively observe reality, but can actively shape it. So, our expectations, formed in part by first impressions, can actually shape reality. But are our first impressions always correct? The answer is not so clear-cut. The accuracy of first impressions has sparked a heated debate among experts. On one side, some suggest that these quick judgments, often formed in the blink of an eye, can be surprisingly accurate. They believe that our innate ability to read genuine emotions and traits such as trustworthiness and attractiveness can render these initial impressions quite precise. On the other side of the debate, critics argue that first impressions are often misleading. They point out that factors such as physical appearance, accents, and speech patterns can heavily influence our initial perceptions, leading us astray. Moreover, they emphasize that biases like the halo effect and confirmation bias can further distort our first impressions, often perpetuating quick judgments based on limited initial information. This debate underscores the complexity of first impressions. It calls attention to the fact that while some impressions can be spot on, others can be significantly off the mark, influenced by a variety of cognitive biases and external factors. As it turns out, the accuracy of our first impressions can be quite variable. So what can we do to ensure our first impressions are as accurate and fair as possible? The key lies in the realm of self-awareness. Being conscious of our own thought processes allows us to understand how our perceptions are shaped. Cognitive biases like the halo effect and confirmation bias are like invisible puppeteers, subtly pulling at the strings of our judgments. But by shining the light of awareness on them, we can start to take control of our own thoughts. The halo effect, for instance, can lead us to make positive assumptions that influence our overall perception of someone. We might meet a person who is exceptionally well dressed and automatically assume they are successful or competent. But is that always the case? By being aware of this bias, we can pause, reflect, and ensure we are not letting one positive trait cloud our overall judgment. Similarly, confirmation bias can trap us in a loop of self-fulfilling prophecies. If we form an initial opinion about someone, we might unconsciously seek out information that aligns with this perception, ignoring evidence to the contrary. This bias can be particularly tricky to spot, as it can feel like we're simply being thorough in our judgment. However, by recognizing its presence, we can strive to consider all information objectively. So how can we mitigate the effects of these biases? One strategy is to consciously slow down our decision-making process. By taking the time to gather more information and reflect on our judgments, we can counteract the tendency to rely on initial impressions. Another strategy is to actively seek out information that contradicts our first impressions. This can help to balance out any skewed perceptions caused by our biases. It's important to remember that becoming aware of our biases is not about blaming ourselves. These biases are part of being human. However, by recognizing them, we can take steps towards making more informed and balanced judgments. By being aware of these biases, we can make more informed and fair judgments, leading to better first impressions and ultimately better relationships.